Am I the asshole for pretty much giving my wife an ultimatum? My wife and I are in our late 30s and have 2 girls, 14 and 16. My wife works in a pretty high-stress position that often requires a lot of travel, sometimes up to 2 full weeks a month. But the job is in her desired field, and she's worked hard to get where she is, and it pays well, which is a plus. I work a lower-stress job with more flexible hours, but it doesn't pay as well. Because of my wife's job, I have been the parent that attends to most of our kids' needs. I take them to their activities, I attend all the games and recitals, I take them shopping, and I taught our oldest how to drive, etc. A few weeks ago, my wife got a job offer from a client of hers that she's worked with for years. It would be a more stable position that would pretty much eliminate her travel and would also come with a nice bump in pay. The only problem is that the job is literally across the country, like 2,000 miles away. When she told me about it, she was beyond excited because this job would finally give her a chance to be at home with our girls again. She was talking about it like it was already decided that she would take the job and we would move. I tried to share in her initial excitement, but all I could think of was leaving behind the life that the girls and I had built here. My wife sensed that I wasn't as enthusiastic about the job as she was and asked me what was up. I told her that the girls are at an age now where uprooting their lives and leaving all their friends behind would be a pretty drastic change, and we needed to get their input before making any decisions. She agreed, and we spoke with them. Both of the girls wanted to stay where we are. Neither liked the idea of moving and starting in new schools. They like their friends, they like their schools, they like their sports and activities here. My wife got upset and tried to convince them how much better it would be for her to have a job that actually allowed her to be present in their lives again. But my oldest pretty much told her that she was being selfish for asking them to uproot their lives just so that she could feel better about herself. My wife broke down in tears after the talk and confessed to me that she thought this new job would be an easy decision for us, and I should help her convince our daughters that it was the right choice. I told her I wasn't going to do that. I told her we should wait until the girls are done with high school before moving across country like that. She said this kind of job opportunity doesn't come around that often, and if she doesn't take it, then she doesn't know if she'll ever get a chance like this again. She said she felt like I was forcing her to choose between her family and her career, and I told her that's pretty much exactly the decision that she needs to make. She asked what would happen if she took the job, and I told her I would probably stay here with our girls. She called me an asshole and now isn't talking to me. I'm just gonna have to say no assholes here for this one because both have very compelling reasons for why they want to do what they want to do. Your wife is in a high-stress position that requires a lot of travel, up to 2 full weeks a month. I imagine that does and has done a number on her over the last 14 to 16 years. Probably even longer than that if she's been in that job for a while. She has very good reasons for moving 2,000 miles away, as it would alleviate so much of that burden, and she'd be able to actually invest her time better in these girls, but it kind of seems like this is far too little, far too late. It's very much a rock and a hard position for her because the girls are unwilling to move, but she feels as though she can't not take this position, even if it is across the country. In an ideal world, either the girls would be okay with moving or they wouldn't move her 2,000 miles away. And at the end of the day, I don't think anyone is an asshole in this one. I feel like everyone's positions are valid. So I'm going to say no assholes here. Now in the comments, Jagarundai says, "This is probably going to be a very unpopular opinion, but I think you should strongly consider the move. Your wife's current job has her traveling roughly 2 weeks a month. That means that she's only living with her family about half of every year. Before the pandemic, I was having to travel increasingly more often for my job, and it was awful. It's stressful, extremely tiring, and really bad for your health as your sleep schedule is erratic. You can't plan healthy meals or work out. Frankly, as your wife gets older, this job is going to be unsustainable. And the older she gets, the harder it is going to be for her to find a new job. She's not horrible or selfish for wanting to be able to live with her family more than half the year, plus get a raise. Moving is hard, especially for the 16-year-old, and it's not a decision to be made lightly. But you should at least try to understand your wife's perspective. You and your girls have basically told her that you don't care that you only see her 180 days out of the year, that seeing your social circle is more important to you than seeing her. Whether you meant to or not, you have communicated to her quite clearly that she is unimportant to your lives. And OP replies, "To be fair, that's the life my daughters have known for the better part of a decade. It's hard for kids to understand what life could be like outside of their own experiences, and my wife being gone often is the only life my daughters have ever known. My wife and I have had numerous talks about her taking a job that would allow her to be home more, and she decided against it every single time until now. I supported and encouraged her to take less pay, but she didn't want to give up the career progress that she made. And now, I feel it's too late to uproot our daughters' lives and move them across the country." It sounds like your wife works in a specialized field, in which case, job opportunities are generally far and few between, and taking a step down is often career suicide. She's also been the primary breadwinner, while you worked a low-paying, low-stress job. Even if she could find a local job that was a step down, are you going to step up and replace her as the primary breadwinner? I had hoped that this was just a case of miscommunication, and that you hadn't thought about how your response might be perceived as indicating that you didn't value her as a part of the family. Unfortunately, based on your replies, it seems that it wasn't a miscommunication at all. You genuinely don't care if she's a bigger part of your life, which is honestly kind of heartbreaking. It sounds like he feels that she's valued her career over their family all along, and this is just more of the same. Look, you're the asshole. Your kids are still young, and trust me, they will get over it. What would you rather have? A good family dynamic with a present mother, and the kids have a cranky period because they're teenagers, and that's just what they do? Or an incredibly tragic dynamic because their mother is never home? No kid wants to move, ever. Then you get everyone in the car and you pull up to the new house, and the kids run in to see everything and pick their new rooms, and look at the backyard where the dog can run around and the basement they can hang out in, and suddenly it's not so bad. The first day of school is hard, but they'll slowly make new friends. They'll still have their old friends. If these last 2 years have shown us anything, it's how to stay close when far apart. Your oldest called your wife selfish. Your wife is anything but selfish. She's sacrificed a decade of spending weekends with her children, a decade of making them lunches in the morning and picking them up from practice and going to their games, all to give you a comfortable life. You say you can take the pay cut, but can you really? Will your kids be okay if they can't do as many extracurriculars, or go on as many vacations, or have as many nice things? How about when they inevitably need help with college? Because that full ride you're banking on, if they even get it, and it's a common folly for parents to think their child will get a full ride scholarship, straight A's isn't enough anymore. It's genuinely a lottery. Half the people in universities had straight A's in high school. I had a 4.5 GPA and perfect ACT score, and I only got a half tuition scholarship, and that was almost 10 years ago. Things are far more competitive now. Isn't going to pay for rent and extracurriculars and living expenses. I seriously doubt your family will actually be happy and comfortable with the pay cut. What you all have done is told your wife that you don't care if she's present or not. You're fine without her being there. She can have her career, but she can't have the family she's working so hard to give an incredible life to. All of those incredible memories you have with your children, she is missing because she's busy working to send you home a check. If I'm being fully honest, you need to make this move. If you don't, one of two things will happen. 1, she continues to not be home and her relationship with her children grows even more cold and distant than it already is, or 2, she takes a pay cut and they resent her because they don't have as much money now. If you aren't willing to deal with a couple of weeks of your kids being cranky and upset to repair your family, you are setting your family up for failure. And STL says, no assholes here. You and your wife have separate opinions on an issue. She's not an asshole for wanting the job, and you're not an asshole for not wanting her to take it. Our next post is by user GreedyGF94 Throwaway, titled, Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend that she got too greedy with and took advantage of my offer to treat her to a night out? I, 28 male, have been dating my girlfriend, 29 female, for about 8 months. Very recently, she received a major promotion from her work. This was highly competitive and she didn't expect to get it, and she was naturally very excited when she got it. When she came over and told me about it, I told her, "That is so awesome! I'm taking you out tonight to celebrate. My treat." We first went out to a casual but sort of nice and sort of expensive local seafood restaurant to eat. She not only ordered just about the most expensive thing on the menu, but also a really expensive dessert. Okay, fine, no problem. I kind of feel as if most people would have been a bit more modest, but whatever. However, after dinner, we went out to a bar to have a drink. We were gonna just have 1 or 2 and then go home, but her friends ended up showing up and it turned into a bit of a party. She ordered her friends several rounds of expensive shots. The particular they were doing included Crown Royal, which was about $40 per round. The night left me broke and I had to put my groceries and bills for the next couple of weeks on a credit card. I didn't say anything to her that night because she was in a great mood and I didn't want to kill her buzz, but the next day I did mention to her how I thought that she got a little carried away and shouldn't have spent so much of my money. After a little bit of back and forth, it turned into a big fight wherein she ended up throwing literal cash at me to pay me back. I told her that I didn't want her money, just that I didn't appreciate being taken advantage of. I know that I offered to treat her to a night out on me, but I think most people would hold themselves back a little under those circumstances than she did. Am I off in thinking that? Yeah, I don't think you're off in thinking that. I think when she started buying rounds of drinks for her friends, that was an asshole move. The expectation was that you were going out to dinner and then maybe a drink or 2, and that's a reasonable amount of money to spend, but multiple rounds of shots is not a reasonable amount of money, that it far exceeds that. I believe that yes, she did take advantage of you in this situation and she hasn't apologized for it. That makes her an asshole and she continues to be one. Throwing money at you won't fix this situation. Not the asshole OP. Now in the comments, Senderslayer says, "Not the asshole, holy crap. Who buys rounds for friends with someone else's money?" The friends are huge assholes in this scenario. Sure, they don't expect the person they're celebrating to pay, but why the F are they not paying for their own drinks? They are the freeloading assholes here. To be fair, if they don't know the situation, they're not necessarily going to know to ask the question. When you do rounds, everyone pays in turns. They were freeloading. What? If I'm that girl's friend and she says she's getting everyone drinks, you think I'm gonna ask who's paying? Not the asshole. You offered to treat her and not her friends. She definitely took advantage of the situation and is embarrassed that she got called on it. I hope it's embarrassment she's feeling. Not sure if it's that or entitlement. I'm pretty sure the cash was a play. She knew he wouldn't take it and she will use it to try and make this go away. But I offered to pay you. And if the OP takes the money, she writes his concern as him being cheap. Not the asshole for sure. She was really dismissive of his concerns, and refusing to listen here implies there's a deeper problem, in my opinion. Not the asshole regarding the friends' drinks. You offered to treat her, not her friends. However, the restaurant situation, you sound really unreasonably annoyed about. Not really. If she's the type to order that thing usually, then okay. But if you're only getting something because someone else is paying, it seems a bit like you're taking advantage. I don't think that the sort of dish she normally orders is pertinent here. This wasn't a normal meal. This is OP taking her out as a treat to celebrate her promotion. If OP wasn't willing or able, I'm not saying he wasn't able in this specific instance as he clearly did pay for dinner, I'm just talking generally, to pay for the most expensive items on the menu, then he should have taken her somewhere else that was better suited to his budget. Or if he really wanted to take her somewhere fancy that was a bit out of his price range, he should have been clear and upfront about what he could afford and then given his girlfriend the choice to decide that she wanted to go somewhere else. As much as it can be nice to deliberately go somewhere different to normal, it's not fun to go somewhere and only be able to order the cheapest dish. Again, talking generally. So in my opinion, the girlfriend isn't the asshole at all for ordering expensive dishes when she was being treated. However, I also suspect that OP seems more upset by what she ordered at the restaurant because of the overall circumstances. If the stuff at the bar hadn't happened, I suspect he'd probably not have minded. All that said, OP is 100% not the asshole. What his girlfriend pulled at the bar was crappy, and her reaction doesn't seem to paint her in a good light either. Am I the asshole for wanting my son to call me dad instead of my name? So my 38 male son, 16 male, started addressing me by my first name instead of dad. I'm not okay with it. I had asked him to not call me by my first name, and he said he can call me however he wants, and I can't force him to call me dad. My wife, his mom, told me not to get too hung up on this, since it really isn't an issue. I told her that it is an issue for me, just not an issue for her, since our son still calls her mom. Yesterday, I sat my son down and asked him to please stop calling me by my first name. He refused, and so I grounded him, took away his electronics, and only give him access when he needs it for school. I'm not gonna just be disrespected like this in my own home, and I told him only once he learns some manners will the punishment be lifted. To say the least, he's pretty angry with me and doesn't understand why I'm so hung up on not being called dad. My wife is now staying out of it, but did tell me that I'm going too far, and that son is just a teenager and that I should know how teenagers are. So here I am, now asking if I really am an asshole. Am I the asshole? Now in the comments, everyone sucks here. Just don't respond if he doesn't call you dad. I went through a phase of calling my mum by her first name. She didn't get mad, she just didn't respond. I quickly went back to mum. My brother called my mum name doll because that's what our dad called her. That was of course when he was 3 or 4 though. Amari Z says, there's some interesting symmetry here. You asked him why he changed what he calls you. He doesn't answer and just says he can call you what he likes. People here ask you why it's important to you, and you don't give a reason and just say that it feels less respectful, just because. Neither of you understand the other's motivations, and it sounds like you've made some kind of initial effort maybe to understand his, but there hasn't been a real connected conversation in which you explain why it's important to you and say that you'd really like to understand his reasons. It sounds like at the moment, it's just a case of respect my authority because I tell you to versus no, I don't want to. I know that's what a lot of parent-child relationships are built on, but personally, I believe it doesn't really help either person to grow or be happy. I would say that it's up to you to take the conversation beyond where it currently is and put some more effort towards creating mutual understanding. With that in mind, I would err on the side of you're the asshole, but not massively. It doesn't sound like you've made your fundamental reasons for wanting to be called dad clear enough, so I don't think the punishment is really justified. And edit, thanks for all the awards, so many replies, and seems like quite a divisive issue. Although we could go on and on about exactly how disrespectful it is to call a parent by their first name, I'm not actually arguing about that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the dad being upset about not being called dad, and the son's behavior is definitely unpleasant. My main point in this specific context of parenting is this. I believe it's more effective to teach young people to understand the consequences of their actions and speech on others than to teach them to obey authority figures. We don't have the details of the sit-down, so we don't know exactly what happened. But to me, it sounded more like a respect my authority kind of approach. And I think more communication about what's going on for both people would help here. There were a couple of great suggestions in this thread for what kind of thing you could say to him to help him understand how him calling you by your name makes you feel. Imagine if instead of grounding his son, he sat him down and said something like, "Hey son, you're right. You can call me whatever you want, but I want to let you know, I feel really sad when you call me by my first name. I love being your dad, so when you call me by my first name, it feels impersonal and distant to me. I know you're growing up, and I'm very proud of the man you're becoming, and I'm proud to call you my son. I hope you'll choose to call me dad again someday." He could teach his son so much with a conversation like this. My 3-year-old went through a phase of calling me by my name because that's what she heard other people call me. I explained that it's my name and it's okay to call me that, but only her and her sister get to call me Mummy. Nobody else in the world gets to call me that, so it's special when she does. She still calls me by my first name now and again, but it's most often Mummy again. There's something worth talking about under all of this, and to just bluster ahead and take electronics away feels like a punishment designed to hurt rather than a natural consequence. Our next post is by user CatClaw1815, titled, "Am I the asshole for getting rid of my partner's dog?" I've never liked dogs. I think they're loud and annoying. However, when I met my significant other, I was willing to put these feelings aside since they had an elderly pup. We moved in together a little under a year ago, and I brought my cat. We both agreed that we wouldn't get any pets after our animals passed. Unfortunately, their dog passed away a month ago. Cut to about 2 weeks ago, and my partner decides to get a new puppy without letting me know. Apparently it's a German Shepherd Pug mix that they found on Craigslist. I was furious and told them that I didn't want another dog in our house. They told me it was unfair that I still had my cat, and that this was only fair. They then told me that they couldn't return it, so it would just have to stay. After contacting the seller myself and being told the same thing, I finally relented. I hated this dog. It was loud, untrained, and constantly made messes. My partner did try their best to train it, but I didn't see much progress. I finally had enough after coming home, only to see that dog ripping my stuffed Care Bear to shreds. I've had it ever since I was little, and despite how immature it sounds, I have trouble sleeping without it close by. I was furious. Here's where I think I might be the asshole. I contacted a few friends and co-workers, and eventually found someone who would take it. I loaded it up in my car with its cage, bowls, toys, and other accessories, and dropped it off at this person's house. I did feel guilty, but I just wanted the dog gone. My partner found out and was livid. They told me it was their dog and that I had no right to do this. I fired back that my name is on the lease and I could do what I want. They stormed out, I'm guessing to get the dog back, and I'm sitting here now feeling extremely guilty. On one hand, I think what I did was justified, since I never had a choice in the matter, but on the other, I realize that they did pay for everything, and that I need to make compromises in the relationship. Both of you guys suck in this relationship for the terrible lack of communication between parties. They should have stuck to the rule that there were no pets to be brought in this house, and reasonable compromise should have been made after that decision was made. If it was too much for you to be in a relationship with your partner with that dog, I don't think you could be blamed for leaving the relationship, although that is an extreme choice. And on the other hand, you chose to go ahead and just dump this dog without communicating to your partner how dissatisfied you were living with this dog and how much of an effect it was having on you. You guys didn't find a reasonable compromise at any part of the story or at any time at all. I believe what you did was much worse than what they did, but they're still at fault in this situation, so I'm gonna say everyone sucks here. Now in the comments, everyone sucks here. You both acted unilaterally, and it sounds like no one here is truly a good animal parent in doing so. Or a good partner. This relationship sounds toxic. Yeah, these people need to break up. To be honest, not necessarily break up, but definitely sit down and talk about how everything was wrong in this situation. 1. OP possibly not making it clear that they couldn't live with another dog, especially an untrained puppy. 2. Partner for not discussing getting a, what sounds to me, medium-sized puppy. Communication is key when getting a new animal. It's not like he just saw a box of puppies and brought them home to call around to find homes for them. He straight up went to a backyard breeder. And 3. OP for rehoming without having a conversation first. But partner is also wrong since they didn't allow for OP to have any sort of conversation without shutting it down. Both score -2 for bad communication. This is coming from a cat person to boot. In my opinion, OP and partner should have looked at dogs and cats together to see if they could find a fit if the partner wanted a companion so bad. Everyone sucks here. You guys don't have a dog problem, you have a relationship problem. Yup, Instead of getting rid of the new dog, OP should have moved out. They are not compatible. There is no trust or communication. They need to end it and leave the poor animals out of it. The person who got the dog should have moved out. OP is the one on the lease. Our next post is by user Privacy Account 45785, titled, "Am I the asshole for calling my sister cruel for putting her disabled son in a nursing home?" So my sister is a widow with 3 kids, 10, 12, and Adam, who is 15. My brother-in-law passed away in a car accident 3 years ago with Adam, and Adam became disabled. My sister used to stay at home and receive benefits, but recently started looking for a job. We as a family had no idea. We always tell her to come to us if she needed help, but she's been distant lately. Last week, she visited my parents to make an announcement. Everyone was there when she announced that she arranged for Adam to go live in a nursing home. This was a shock and my heart sunk. I can't even imagine how Adam must have felt to suddenly find himself away from home and his family. His sisters were crying, begging their mum to let Adam stay and they'll take care of him. My dad lost it on her. He berated her for treating Adam as if he had no attachments to his home, siblings, and grandparents, and weekly visits with family because of his disability. He started crying, saying that she took all that away from us and made a selfish decision and ripped their grandson away from his family just for a job. My mum and brother disagreed, saying that what she did was inevitable, and she's already given Adam enough, and that she had the right to do what she did since she has other kids to look after, and her position as a single mum was hard enough. I had an argument with my sister. She refused to let me speak, saying it's her son and she decides. I called her cruel and heartless to her face for uprooting her child like that and taking him away from home and sisters when he's already dealing with so much. She lashed out, saying I don't get to judge her when she's feeling stuck and overwhelmed, having to care for Adam while trying to raise her other kids and work. I said she could have come to us for help, but she told me off, saying she's already given Adam 3 years of care, time, and money, and couldn't do it anymore. She added that she can't miss this job opportunity, and a nursing home was better for Adam's needs, and the family can visit him anytime they want. But as a mother, how can you say I gave enough and stop caring for your child all of a sudden? My husband said let's do something. Get a fund or something, because no matter how my sister tries to convince us that Adam is healthier and happier there, she basically abandoned him and took him away from his family. My sister told me to back off since I have it easy with my perfect kids. My dad kicked her out after she accused me of being judgmental and turning the family against her. Info. This is very important. 1. Adam's disability level is severe. He requires round-the-clock care. 2. My family helped my sister in several ways, like paying for equipment, besides the benefits that she receives, and we also help her look after the kids by either visiting or having them over, and my daughter visits them to help with chores and homework or other stuff. And 3. My sister's decision to work was out of the blue. Money wasn't her biggest struggle as much as she complained about being tired. Yeah, look, OP, you're not in her shoes, so I feel like you shouldn't be throwing stones like this. To me, this is more of a situation of this is her life, this is her child, this is her choice to make. You are not required to provide that round-the-clock care, nor should you be expected to either. It's not an easy decision for them to make, but at the end of the day, it kind of seems like this is necessary and is in everyone's best interests, even though it's not in yours or your family's best interests. I feel like you only want to see this from your and your family's side, and you refuse to be in her shoes and see how much it's affecting her. I'm gonna have to go with you're the asshole. Now in the comments, you're the asshole. She's a widow dealing with a disabled kid as best she can. Mind your own business beyond supporting her decision as a parent. It's weird that your dad kicked her out instead of you. And I'm so glad I'm not the only one thinking this. I bet Adam's mum hasn't received the support she's needed, which prompted her to have to make this devastating decision. I have nothing but empathy for her. Exactly. I don't see OP offering to have Adam move in with her. This right here. If you are so concerned about Adam losing his family, then you take him in. Your sister is a single mum now, and she still has to worry about her own well-being and the well-being of her able-bodied children. It's not as if Adam is just a wheelchair and your sister is throwing him away. She is grieving, providing the emotional and mental support for her other 2 children that have lost their father and brother, and you're calling her a monster for not being able to provide round-the-clock care? What is wrong with you? You're the asshole. You're the asshole. She's a widow caring for 3 kids? A nursing home is not abandonment. It's support for a woman who needs to provide for herself and 2 other children. And instead of offering to help her, you just yell and kick her out and abandon her? Can you not see how unreasonable you guys are being? Do you have any idea what it's like to need to care for a disabled person 24/7, raise 2 other children, and have a job, and all that comes with being an adult? No, a nursing home isn't great, and I would want her to try and find other resources, but it's her kid, her life that is being torn 1,000 different ways by needing to find a job, support her kids, take care of a disabled child, and try to just flat out survive without having a mental breakdown. She is limping along as best as she can, and when she tries to find a solution, and it's not the greatest, most perfect one, you guys attack her instead of creating a better plan with her that still acknowledges how much this is requiring of her. Her wanting to put her kid in a nursing home was her saying that she can't do all of this on her own. Your response should have been, you don't have to. Let's talk about other strategies where we can help out and make sure that you have the support you need. Instead, her family called her an asshole and abandoned her? I'm so going to pitch in and say that most nursing homes honestly aren't that bad, especially care homes for people with disabilities. I work in one, and honestly we're often able to give our individuals a higher quality of life than the family was able to provide. It's also not like the family is abandoning them. You can still visit. Lots of families do visit at least once a week. Our next post is by user NigenThrowish2257, titled, Am I the asshole for leaving my house because my stepkids asked me to? So I have 3 daughters from my current marriage, 1, 4, and 6, who are all girls, and 2 stepkids, 14 and 15, both boys. They are not fans of me at all. They think I stole their dad from their mom, and they don't like that I'm around. They don't like their siblings much either. They're not mean, they're very respectful, they just don't enjoy us. They spend as much time here as they want with their dad. They prefer to be here when they know I won't be. I used to take intermittent trips away that were work-related. Lately I've been receiving less trips out due to the pandemic, and I've been given the opportunity to work from home. Because of this, the steps don't want to come over. It's Delaney's, the older stepson's, birthday this past weekend, and he wanted to come over and use the pool in Home Theatre for a get-together with some of his friends. He told his dad he didn't want me around and asked if I would leave. His dad said no, but he approached me and I wasn't going to ruin his birthday over it. So I got an Airbnb and took the girls for a mummy week. My husband was away in Milwaukee for a family emergency before the kids arrived. I told him I was leaving. I now know that he thought I was kidding. I stayed until the boys came and asked one last time if they were sure they didn't want me there. They say they'd prefer if I left, so I took the girls and went. I assumed they were old enough to manage on their own for 3 days, as their dad came back Wednesday. They were there the whole week. My husband came home Wednesday morning and was pissed that I wasn't with the boys. The boys were fine. The house was a little messy, but things were fine all the same. My husband thinks it was immature of me to leave the kids home alone. We have a working security system with cameras, and the neighbors did check in, just because they asked. He said that by me leaving, I showed the kids that we weren't a united family, and that they were allowed to pretend that we, myself and our daughters, don't exist. Am I the asshole for leaving 'cause they asked me to? Now in the comments, Top Canary 7694 says, Everyone sucks here. Are any of you in family therapy? To help the boys adjust to their new reality? Your husband should be taking charge and helping with the situation, but it doesn't seem like you undermined him. You leaving because they want you to isn't helping anyone. It is just likely to put the idea in their head that they can make you leave permanently. It does seem kinda stupid, you leaving every time they want to come over, just because they demand it. That does show a weakness in your relationship that they can exploit and manipulate, which they did. It's your home, not a leisure center that they can book in advance and ask tenants to vacate, birthday or not. Also, you left a group of minors home alone without any form of adult supervision and without letting any responsible adult know. This part is key. If I was a parent whose kid had been at the party, I'd be pissed. And that's the part that's making me vote you're the asshole. As a further step kid, I appreciate OP wanting to keep the peace, but leaving minors alone for days? No. Your 15-year-old stepson invited all of his 15-year-old friends to his birthday party, then told you to hit the road, and you did. For 3 days. Wow. Just wow. Your husband was wrong though, to say that you're immature. No. The kids could have burned the house down or died of alcohol poisoning, so I'd go with insane. You're the asshole. Maybe I'm alone, but it's absolutely batcrap crazy to come to such extreme assumptions. I house sat at that age. Not every 15-year-old is stupid and crazy, and quite frankly, I don't know anyone that got alcohol poisoning or burned their house down, alone or not. All these people acting like these teens could have burnt their house down got me laughing. I wonder if they've ever met a 15-year-old. Between their gaming and social media, most kids couldn't be bothered. Even if they were immature enough to do so, which most likely they aren't. I'm glad I wasn't raised the way kids are today. It seems suffocating, and I feel bad for them. Our next post is by user Raises the Flammy, titled, Am I the asshole for losing a friend over the use of their full name for a formal wedding invitation? So I'm from the UK, so some things are UK specific and may not apply to other countries. I'm getting married in a few months, and I had previously invited my best friend to be my best man at my wedding. He's been pretty reluctant to actually do any of the best man related responsibilities, and was very reluctant to get a suit that my parents were going to pay for him measured, so that it can be tailored to fit him come wedding day. It's now time to send out the invitations, and anyone who has received a formal invitation knows that it's customary to use a person's full and proper name as it is spelt in their passport, or if it has been legally changed, by the new name via deed poll. So naturally, I sent my best friend his invitation. He flat out refuses to acknowledge it as it's using his full name as the addressee. So I contacted him about it, explaining how it's a formal invitation and how we don't necessarily want to use full names, but that it's customary to do so and expected by all parties involved. But he won't have it. He's acting like a big baby and throwing a lot of stress and frustration my way for it. Long story short, we end up falling out, and in my last words to him, I said, fine. If you're going to act like a big baby, then forget about coming to my wedding. In fact, forget about us being friends at all. Naturally, he does just that. Now I know I'm probably going to get flack for being a bit nuclear with my words, but he's been dragging his heels in over the whole wedding process, and I think he was just looking for a way to get out of doing anything like the lazy dick he is acting. Now it's been a little while, and I've been wondering if I'm being an asshole here. But to me, it seems like such a little thing to drag one's heels into the ground and ruin a friendship over something so insane as a full legal name. Edit for info, we're talking about a situation where the name on the invitation is Jonathan Lee Smith, who likes to be called John Smith, and no, for all those asking, he is not trans, and I am not dead naming him. And edit because people keep asking, I have updated the content as to the reason why. Apparently his parents used to tell him off, and he has bad feelings over that. But 1, I didn't know the full extent of that prior to sending off the invitations, and 2, this is a formal and traditional wedding, and it is expected that full names are used for the invitations. Heck, even my fiancé and my names are in their full names, and we both hate our names just as much. Edit for more info, for clarity, my best friend was also supposed to be a counter-signatory on the wedding documents, and as such would have had to use his full and legal name on the official paperwork. So is he also going to kick up a fuss about that too? And edit for the best man thing, no, I did not railroad my friend into being the best man. I asked him to go to the wedding first, he said yes. I then asked him about being best man and the duties it would entail, and again, he said yes. At no point did he say thanks but no thanks, or did he ever show any indication of reluctancy or refusal. So I offer this unto you, Reddit. Am I the asshole? Now in the comments, Miss Merk says, not the asshole. He doesn't want to be your best man and isn't mature enough to tell you. The excuse he gave you was a bit weak, but okay. It may also be a financial issue. Everyone sucks here. But what is this load of crap about it being a customary UK thing? That's absolute tosh. Not the asshole. Your friend making a wedding invitation about himself to the point he's willing to lose you as a friend shows me he is the worst. Not the asshole. Honestly, your friend is being childish as hell. If I didn't know better, I'd say he's finding reasons to get upset, because for some reason, he's finding this whole best man thing a big drag. If he didn't want to be involved, he should just man up and say so. Whether or not he still comes to your wedding, you deserve a best man who will be happy for you and enjoy being part of your wedding preparations. And now back to the post, there's an update. I thought I'd give you all a sit rep on what's gone on since I posted this story. My friend finally apologized for his actions, claiming to have overreacted about the full name thing. He realized that it was a very silly thing to get mad about in the first place. I accepted his apology and provided one of my own for my overreaction as well. I cleared up that his name would only ever be used in the invitation using his full name, and all other mentions, such as table numbers and place cards, would be his preferred name. We've now patched things up into friends again, as well as he's definitely going to the wedding. So in the end, we are all good. Am I the asshole for resenting a baby? So I, female 30, got pregnant when I was 18 and met my now husband, 33 male, 2 weeks after giving birth. Within the first year of my son's life, the bio dad signed away his rights and my husband adopted our son. My husband has always treated my son as if he's his bio dad. We haven't told my son yet that he has a different dad than our 3 daughters. My in-laws know this, but have always treated our son the same way. A couple of Christmases ago, my brother-in-law and his wife gave my in-laws 2 gifts. The first one had an ultrasound and a due date. The second one had baby boy clothes and shoes in it. Everyone freaked out and was so excited. Then my sister-in-law and mother-in-law started yelling over and over again, "Finally, we're going to have a last-name boy to pass on the family name." My heart broke instantly. Luckily, my son was just out of earshot. My face instantly dropped, but I didn't say anything as not to ruin the new parent's special moment. I didn't end up bringing it up at all to my in-laws. I just started staying home during weekend dinners, and when my mother-in-law gave me an invite to the new mum's baby shower, I said I was going to be gone for the night. Deep down, it absolutely crushed me because I felt like the true feelings had come out. It made me feel like they never actually viewed my son as part of the family. My son shares the same last name as the new baby, but my son doesn't count to carry on the family name? It was a Freudian slip if I'd ever heard one. Fast forward to about 10 months later. I had been excusing myself from all possible family gatherings. My husband decided that it had been long enough, and they needed to know what they did and how it looked and felt. He went over by himself, and at first it was just his mum and dad. He told them how it all played out and what was said over and over again. My mother-in-law instantly got defensive, and my father-in-law instantly defended her, and said, "You have absolutely no idea how hard this has been on your mother for the past few months. This has been eating away at her and stressing her out so much." Not one mention about my son, if he heard or not, how this possibly made him feel, or how it made me feel, and no one ever reached out to try and make it right. They then called my sister-in-law over because she had said it too, and they wanted to include her in the conversation that was extremely one-sided. "Oh, we didn't mean it like that. We meant another boy to pass on the name." No, absolutely not. You two yelled it over and over again. My husband doesn't have a biological son, only an adopted one. There was no apology. There were only excuses and a lot of defensive talk. Apparently some of it was my fault. Am I the asshole? And edit, I'm not still avoiding my in-laws. I started going back to events after my husband had the conversation with them. I didn't feel that there was a point in me having a conversation with them because it would have just made things worse, and I have a really hard time getting how I feel and how it hurt across, especially when it's with people of importance. The only person I can do this with is my mom. Don't worry, I'm working on it in therapy. I also know that my son should have just grown up knowing the truth. Unfortunately, that isn't something I can take back, but we're about to tell him. At this point, we want to be the ones to tell him rather than him finding out that he didn't get his eye color from me or my husband in biology. I'm fully aware that I'm the asshole for not telling my son. Now in the comments, everyone sucks here. Your in-laws for clear reasons. You and your husband, first, because you have kept this well-known secret from your 12-year-old son. He is more than old enough for the facts. Some of your strong reactions may even be your own guilt at keeping this from him as if it matters, which obviously it does not. Also, you should have spoken with your in-laws about the situation once the most heated emotion had passed. A few days, probably. Choosing the passive-aggressive route rarely has the effect that you hope for. I couldn't agree more. DNA tests are now Christmas presents, and there are no more secrets. Your child should have always known this. Everyone sucks here. You're the asshole for not telling your kid he's adopted. He is 12. What are you waiting for? Him to find out on the streets and be pissed off? Trust me, there's something inside him that already knows that something's up. I found out my dad was not my dad at age 59, and everything suddenly made sense at that point. Everyone sucks here. My parents kept the fact that my stepdad isn't my bio dad from me for 10 plus years. I already knew because there's always 1 or 10 family members who can't keep their mouths shut. It's a huge reason that I have no respect for or contact with my parents. Not the asshole. But I think you framed your title wrong. It doesn't sound like you resent the baby, it sounds like you resent your husband's family, and rightfully so for how they reacted to the baby. Absolutely agree, not the asshole. You can forgive your in-laws, but I doubt you will ever forget. Please don't stress yourself for not feeling the same way about them. This moment absolutely changes your relationship with them, especially as they refuse to acknowledge any wrongdoing. And edit to add, also, in my opinion, it sucks that the daughters are suddenly devalued because a bio son is suddenly in utero. This family has issues. Our next post is by user Pop468869, titled, Am I the asshole for walking out in the middle of my boyfriend's birthday party? So I, female 25, have been with my boyfriend, male 28, of 3 years. Our relationship is great and we rarely fight. His birthday was days ago. I wanted to do something together, but his parents already decided to host the party at their house. My boyfriend got there first, I showed up after I got work, and he was there with the guests busy talking and greeting in the backyard. I took a seat in the back, and his sister showed up with her husband and son, Jake. We're not on good terms, by the way. She said hi, then asked if I could watch her son Jake, and I was like, but she disappeared and left her kid with me before I could even answer. So I decided to just keep an eye on him until she gets back, since he was sitting across from me. I spilled my drink on my top, which was messy. I gave Jake my phone to play on it, and asked him to sit still till I get back, and then I went to use the bathroom to clean up the stain. Clearly, Jake walked towards the pool, and the floor was slippery, so he fell and injured his knee. That's when I heard a loud noise coming from outside, like people panicking. I went to see what was going on and saw my boyfriend and his family with Jake. I heard my boyfriend's dad ask who was supposed to watch Jake, and his sister said my name. My boyfriend saw me and shouted, "OP, where the hell have you been? How could you let this happen?" I was taken aback and I said that I was in the bathroom cleaning up the stain. He asked, is the stain more important than my nephew? I explained that his family or his mother should have kept an eye on him. He said there were many guests, so they probably didn't notice, and said I should stop turning this around on his family since I agreed to watch Jake. I said no, I did not initially agree to watch Jake and came to the party as a guest, not a babysitter, and that his sister just dumped him on me and disappeared without even waiting to hear if I was going to say no. We had an argument, and I got fed up with being presented with hypothetical scenario after hypothetical scenario of what could have happened if Jake fell inside the pool and was blamed to no end. So I grabbed my stuff and walked out. My boyfriend's parents saw me leave, and he followed me, asking me to wait and return, but I refused. He said I have no reason to be upset, but more reason to be worried, just like they were, and insisted that I go back inside. But I got in my car and I left. He came back later looking pissed, and he said that yes, while it might be his sister's fault for still bringing her son after he stated he didn't want kids there because of the pool, he said that I ruined the party by walking out and for refusing to take responsibility, and admit that I should have just made sure Jake was safe before leaving him out of my sight, whether I agreed to watch him or not. He said his parents are rightfully upset and didn't appreciate my behavior earlier on and then walking out, which hurt him on a personal level since his birthday should mean something to me. I felt like he might have been right and I mishandled this entire situation. Am I the asshole? And by the way, Jake is 4 years old. Look, honestly, I think it's an everyone sucks here judgment. There's only a few things that you can really judge this one on. The fact it was a child-free birthday and she still brought her 4-year-old. She's an asshole for doing that, but I can understand why she did it. She's also an asshole for thrusting the 4-year-old on you without checking if that was okay. And I understand that you spilt your drink on your top. But in that case, I'm guessing you could have taken the 4-year-old with you and yet you chose to abandon him and not have anyone else watch him while you were gone. That is a slight on your behalf, and yes, there should have been other people watching him as he was walking around, but that didn't happen. Ultimately, it's not your fault that you were tasked with babysitting him, but it seems like it is your fault that he wandered off and got injured. So I'm gonna have to go everyone sucks here for this one. Now in the comments, Anchovy Mac and Cheese says, everyone sucks here. She shouldn't have ditched her kid with you, but it's not shocking to understand why you shouldn't leave a toddler alone, especially by a pool. Did you really think telling him to sit still was going to work? There's immaturity in both ends of this post. She should have found the sister and said, I won't watch your kid. If you know you're the only adult watching a toddler and you leave the room without telling another adult, that is not okay. Regardless of how that situation came to be. Obviously, everyone else in this story sucks for obvious reasons. Yeah, I was very much on OP's side at first because it's never okay to dump your kids on someone who doesn't agree to look after them, but she lost me very fast at the moment of walking away. Clearly, asking anyone else was not that hard. You could have taken the kid with you if you couldn't find anyone to watch him. Child without permission plus pool sounds like a parent's worst nightmare. JFC. Everyone sucks here. I can totally see where you're coming from that you didn't agree to look after your nephew. However, you should have had someone else watch the child rather than leave them unattended. Whether that be the child's parents or grandparents or even your partner was rightfully concerned. The child could have been hurt and it would have been your responsibility because you were in fact watching the kid. But he shouldn't have had this conversation in front of everyone. You shouldn't have left the party either, and instead of doing this, you could have had a conversation with your partner afterwards, where you could have explained your frustrations at having the nephew left in your care when you didn't agree to it. I think all parties involved could have handled this situation better, including your partner's sister. And not just hurt, the child could have drowned. Leaving a toddler unattended near a pool is breathtakingly irresponsible. Just pick him up and bring him back to his mom. I'm going with you're the asshole. All you needed to do was walk the kid to his mom and hand him over, and then say sorry, I need to fix my shirt. All done. I disagree. I think everyone sucks here because the mother is still very responsible for this because she dumped her kid off on someone when she didn't know how well they would look after him. She didn't even get consent, just walked away. I would say that's pretty dangerous behavior. To be honest, I kinda doubt she disappeared quickly enough that OP couldn't say no. It takes a literal second to say no. Unless this mum can just apparate, OP had time to respond. I've definitely had a parent ask me to watch their child and then walk away quick enough to not give me time to actually say yes or no. In fact, there are some parents in my family who feel they don't need to pay close attention to their kids because there's plenty of adults, so someone must be watching them. Not all parents are responsible parents. It's annoying, but I'm also smart enough to know that if this happens, I don't get to just walk away and say, well, I didn't say yes, so it's not my fault. I have to stay with the kid until the parents come back or someone else can keep an eye on them. Our next post is by user Wedding titled, Am I the asshole for sticking with my wedding color scheme though my mother-in-law is upset? For my upcoming wedding, I want an earthy theme with muted colors. In our social circle, it's pretty standard for the family to match the wedding colors so the pictures look nice. My parents are spending a good deal of money, so it's important to me that things go as smoothly as possible. When I told my mother-in-law, she made a face but didn't say much. Then we started talking about what the family would wear, and mother-in-law realized that I wanted everyone to look cohesive and got upset. She accused me of not caring about her self-esteem and said that my colors were ugly. Mother-in-law likes bold colors, but she had a wedding a couple years ago and got to do whatever she wanted. I feel this is my day. Shopping for her mother of the groom dress was a nightmare. It was months of back and forth, crying, me vetoing dresses that would stand out like a sore thumb in pictures, her calling me vain and heartless. It was a mess. Finally, I took her and my no-nonsense mum and we got her a dress. I thought it was settled, but I got a furious voicemail from mother-in-law's husband saying that she put the dress on and immediately began crying, and he will not let her wear it at this point because of what it's doing to her self-esteem. He called me a fake person who doesn't know what love is, a controlling psycho, and then began swearing at me and saying that I made his wife cry. My fiancé finally took the phone and ripped him a new one. His daughter texted me the next day and said that she doesn't like mother-in-law that much, but she thinks I'm being a dick because my colors were chosen to suit my huge family and bridal party, all white, and mother-in-law is the only non-white one, Middle Eastern, so the colors don't suit her complexion. I called mother-in-law and asked if that was it, and she wouldn't even answer and said that I don't care about her. My fiancé says to make her wear it out of spite, but at this point, I think they might not be going. She hasn't RSVP'd, and she's the type to dig her heels in and not go. I'm not even sure that she has the dress because my mum says mother-in-law told her that the husband had cut it, and mother-in-law thought that was so cute and romantic. I don't know if I'm being too harsh by not budging, as this is important to me, and I'm sick of her always being a spoiled brat and getting her way. But at the same time, the colors are making her really insecure, and she is super vain. Edit. The one thing I'm not willing to do is trick her and Photoshop the pictures. I am genuinely afraid for her and what that could do to her mental health. We would never see her again. Which is maybe okay, but I don't want her to have a breakdown and have months of bad mental health. Look, honestly, I'm gonna say not the asshole for this one. This is your wedding, and you've done so much work trying to find a compromise for her, yet she continues to be a spoiled brat and just not back down from what she wants to do on your wedding day. That's a quick way to not get invited to the wedding. And even though, yes, you do want her there and you're concerned that she's not RSVPing and that she's potentially cut this dress up with her husband, to me, that's just more reason not to have her at the wedding because why should she be there when she's doing this? Not the asshole OP. And good on you for sticking with your color scheme. Now in the comments, Kel's Nugget says, everyone sucks here. My wedding colors were cream and light gold. Very muted everything. My mother-in-law wore a strapless bright neon pink ball gown to a 5 p.m. summer wedding. Who cares? Let her wear whatever she wants. In 15 years, I promise you will not give two craps. Your mother-in-law sucks for making everything about her. 15 years, bruh, who actually goes back to look at wedding photos of the whole family after 1 year? Usually people have a picture of them and their spouse in the house, and that's it really. Parents look at them with their kids. I remember looking through my parents' very 70s wedding photos with my mum. I remember also seeing a cousin's wedding album with my dad in a maroon tux, so some families do look at them. Even better, then you can all have a laugh at how insistent she was to wear something the kids will think is totally lame and dated anyways. Everyone sucks here, but more you than her. Brides who demand some dress code that mandates specific colors of everyone in the family? Assholes. This just confirms that you care more about a photo than the people involved. Your mother-in-law is throwing a toddler's tantrum. It's entirely possible to wear a dress that you don't like for half a day, even if your future daughter-in-law is a bridezilla. If it's bugging her so much, she can choose not to attend. And edited to add, after reading some of your comments on the thread, it's pretty clear your fiancé chose a future wife that's like his mother in a lot of ways. Good luck to him. You think that dress code for family equals bridezilla? And even if it was, you think that's worse than an adult woman throwing a tantrum over wearing a color? Well, maybe it's a class thing. I grew up poor, but I've literally never heard of a couple insisting that members of the family not in the wedding party wear particular colors. Different groups, different expectations, I guess. And Astronomer Previous 71 says, not the asshole. It's your and your fiancé's day, not hers. Let her continue her tantrum, and if she doesn't go, then that's a drama-free day for you guys. I'm shocked I had to scroll this far down to find a not the arsehole, and I don't even like weddings. My husband and I got married in a courthouse and invited like 4 people. I've worn plenty of stupid crap for weddings that I looked horrible in just to fit the aesthetic of the bride, and it's really not that big of a deal because I cared about the people getting married. They aren't dictating the exact color or style of the dress. Mother-in-law can find something that works. She wants to stand out and be the center of attention on her son's big day, and I can't believe she has that many enablers. Our next post is by user War678, titled, Am I the arsehole for not inviting my girlfriend's daughter to my daughter's birthday party? So I, 45 male, have a daughter, 15 female. She and I are very close. Her mother is not in the picture. I've been seeing Kelly for almost 2 years. She has a daughter, Anna, 16 female, with her ex, and they have joint custody of their daughter. Kelly does not live with me at the moment, but the idea has come up a few times. One of the big reasons why I'm not into the idea is that Anna is horrible to my daughter. Kelly does see how Anna treats my daughter, but thinks it's just a phase. My daughter loves to play video games, sports, and watch science fiction movies. Anna is the opposite. She's into makeup, wearing dresses and skirts, and drama. They are two very opposite people. My daughter's birthday is coming up quick and she wants to have a huge party. I was on board with the idea and we spent a day making invites. She passed around invites to school to all her friends, and right now the party is looking to be around 15 to 20 of her friends. My daughter made it clear that she did not want to have Anna at the party. Kelly texted me asking if her daughter was going to receive an invite, and I told her that my daughter did not want to invite her. Kelly called me sobbing, asking why she wasn't invited, and I told her that the invites were up to my daughter. She then proceeded to accuse my daughter as the reason why kids in school did not like Anna and that I was a huge asshole for supporting her decision. I told her that the reason why kids in school didn't like Anna was because of the way she treats them. She hung up on me and we haven't spoken in a few days. Am I the asshole for not inviting my girlfriend's daughter to my daughter's birthday party? I'm gonna say not the asshole for this one. It's clear that Anna loves drama, and here she goes creating more drama. There's a non-zero chance that she's serious about this, but in all likelihood, she is just stirring the pot and looking for a fight. I would stick with your daughter on this one, OP, and I would hold fast that she's not invited to this party. Not the asshole. Now in the comments, Cat Judgment says, everyone sucks here. Her for insisting that her brat be invited, yes, but why are you still with a woman who lets her daughter be nasty to yours? She sees it and she doesn't care. And you're okay with that? That is an asshole move. I was looking for this. If your girlfriend doesn't care about your daughter's feelings when she's being mistreated by hers, why should you care about her daughter's feelings? The adults in this story are clearly not on the same page and should not move forward until they are. Your duty is to your daughter. Protect her. This will not get better with only time. It will get worse. And further, if Kelly was a decent parent and actually wanted to help Anna, she would help her to adjust her behavior so it was less nasty to others. Not the asshole. Protect your daughter. And if your girlfriend, age 40 plus, sobs over a teenage party and her daughter is a bully, are you really sure that you want to blend these families? They can't be blended. Not the way they are right now. If OP chooses to live with his girlfriend and Anna, his own daughter will never forgive him for tying himself to her bully, nor will she forgive her stepmother for enabling Anna's behavior. If he chooses his girlfriend, he will lose his daughter. If he chooses his daughter, there is no way to move forward with this romantic relationship. If OP is too deeply in love with his girlfriend to consider breaking up, then think the least damaging course of action is to continue seeing each other while maintaining separate households. But I'd be pretty surprised if she was satisfied with that. Not the asshole. I don't think moving in together is a good idea. Not the asshole. Anna will only make your daughter's party miserable and ruin her special day. Kelly sees how her daughter is. I would hope punishments and lectures are given to her when she bullies your daughter, but I doubt it by how Kelly dismisses her behavior. If not, then Kelly is just as big of an issue as her daughter. If so, you truly need to rethink this relationship. Being a bully is not a phase, and even if it is, she needs to be dragged out of it. I have to ask why the hell you would consider moving in with someone when it'll make your daughter's life an absolute misery. I'm all for single parents moving on and dating and finding love, but not at the expense of your own child. Am I the asshole for trying to teach my future stepchildren a little discipline? So I'm 46 male and engaged to 41 female. She has 2 kids, 15 female and 11 male, from a previous marriage. She raised them largely on her own, and they're great kids, and I love them as my own. However, she has most definitely spoiled the hell out of them. She gives them everything they want, and as I have been slowly finding out in the last few years, she's basically done everything for them for their entire lives. They've never been given the slightest bit of responsibility, and they are both very lazy. But they both constantly have their hands out, looking for someone to give them something. I was raised very differently. Not in a strict household, but a single-parent household with mum. My siblings and I were taught early on about responsibility and basic life lessons. We did without, which made us appreciate what we had. I have been slowly trying to burn it into their brains that they are not babies, and that they need to pick up around the house without having to be constantly told to do so. If you want something, earn it by doing chores. My fiancée gives me a ton of blowback about this. She doesn't see why I get so upset when they won't get off their butts. I'm trying to teach them self-sufficiency, and she tells me I'm being an asshole and am being too hard on them. So, what do you say? Am I the asshole? And let me clarify a bit. We talked about these things before moving in together, yes. It was agreed that we would both work together with regard to how we would handle the kids. I asked her point blank if she would be okay with me imposing a little bit more of a direct approach to letting them know that they'd have to pitch in around the house and help us out. She was 100% on board. And also, she said she expected me to act as her equal as far as parenting went. That was her idea, not mine. I told her from the very beginning that I would never ever intentionally overstep her boundaries as their mother. I had no problem sharing the parenting, and I still don't. I'm not a hard ass, I'm actually very, very laid back, but when I'm asked to parent these kids, and I see them being lazy, unmotivated, and flat out disrespectful, I feel it's my job to try and change that. The issue is that she agreed to let me use my own approach, but she's struggling with seeing it in action. It sounded good to her in theory, but now she's balking at it, and I feel kind of like I'm trapped in a minefield. I'm not sure which way to step without risking an explosion. Now in the comments, Nox Wild says, quote, "I love them as my own." Nothing in your post indicates you even like these children. You say they're lazy, selfish, demanding, and irresponsible. You criticize them because they weren't raised the way your superior parents raised you into a superior person. You criticize your fiancé for not agreeing that her kids are such objectionable people. If you dislike her kids and her child raising this much, perhaps you should reconsider marriage. Don't live with or marry someone with the expectation that their children will remodel themselves according to your standards. You may believe that you love them as your own, but you shouldn't think that gives you any right to expect they will love you or even respect you. To them, you might just be mum's annoying boyfriend. You're the asshole. And OP replies, "If I didn't like them, would I be here asking for opinions from total strangers in an effort to remedy the situation? Yeah, swing and a miss on your part." Nox Wild is spot on with their comment about how you come across, and you certainly do not seem to have come here to remedy the situation. You combating the judgments only gives the impression that you came here to be validated and are upset that no one agrees. Please explain how calling children lazy, selfish, demanding, and irresponsible is loving again. I feel so bad for your family if you would think this kind of resentment is normal and okay. And edit to add, asking total strangers who you don't have to be held accountable to and have zero consequences if you don't listen to in any way, is not some flex showing that you care. Showing that you care would be taking some responsibility to communicate, apologize, and work to find compromise in your real life. And OP replies to that, "Absolutely am not looking for validation. Not even close. Also, I don't think I've been combative at all, shy of giving a bit of snark back to those who gave it to me first. You do know that there is such a thing as tough love, right? There is no easy way to step into this situation, as anyone who has ever tried will attest. Calling them spoiled doesn't mean I don't love them. They freely admit that they're spoiled. They know it. They own up to it. But thanks for the input. I appreciate it." Tough love usually means that you're a dick to kids. And OP replies to that, "If trying to teach kids simple lessons like doing chores and carrying a few very simple, easy to understand responsibilities makes someone a dick, then just call me Richard going forward. Teaching kids this stuff, believe it or not, is vital. They'll have to learn eventually. Most, if not all, childcare professionals agree that getting this stuff into their heads while they're young is far easier than it would be as young adults. They aren't going to learn it at school. It's a parent's job, and seeing as how their mother not only asked me to take on a parental role, but now expects it, means it's part of my job to teach them things like this. It's the job of all parents. It's common sense 101. If they're not prepared to go out into the world with this most basic knowledge, the world is going to knock them backwards over and over again. I don't want that to happen. Look, your goal is correct. Your approach is extremely poor, badly researched, poorly executed, and badly communicated. You do understand they don't owe you parental respect. You seem to be jumping the gun and assuming that because your lesson's goal is positive, they ought to fall in and listen and mind you. But you've not earned their respect as a parent. All you'll have is pushback and resentment. Because know this, they don't just know that you don't like their mannerisms, they see your gruff time-to-learn stance as an insult to their entire lives, their mum, their household, and their memories. Wrong, says you, and they push back. Did you do any reading with recent sources on blending a family? There is also a huge difference between, hey, let's do this laundry together because you're going to need to learn how to do this for when you move out, and you need to start doing your own laundry, you lazy, spoiled child. Our next post is by user AncientGoat7426, titled, "Am I the asshole for asking my partner to wear a bra at my parents' place?" So my partner, 31 female, is from California. I, 33 male, am originally from Turkey. We've met while studying together in Europe, and a couple of years ago we got married and moved to her hometown. Since the pandemic hit, we never got to visit my family, and we've recently managed to make it there and stay with them for a couple of weeks. I come from what I always considered an open, secular Western family, and they've always been very happy and welcoming with her. In the past, she found it very tiring to stay over at their place, which was completely understandable. So before coming this time, I promised to try and make her feel more at home, eat at our own times, play our own music in the house, and not just the Turkish one, which is usually on there, go out much more, etc. Once we got there, it turned out that for her, it means another thing, which is never putting on a bra. We live by ourselves and she never wears a bra at home. When she goes out, she sometimes won't either, depending on the outfit and how visible it is. I've never had any issue with that before and always saw it as something that she should decide for herself, but now I found myself extremely uncomfortable with it. In previous visits to my family, she did wear bras. My parents, or neighbors, brother and sister, etc., never said a word about it, but I definitely noticed the glances and active attempts to avoid staring. It's not something that I've seen other women do around my family or while growing up, and it did attract their attention. I think bras are a stupid social convention, when not truly necessary, which is her case, but I know this isn't how my family sees it, and I didn't plan to spend this time with my family being an activist for my or her beliefs, just reconnecting a bit. A week into our stay, I told her it makes me a bit uncomfortable, in those words. She said I promised to try to feel more at home, that this doesn't fit with my principles, and that it makes her feel like I'm trying to be more Turkish when I'm with my parents. I apologized for making her feel like that, and told her some of what she says is true, but I could not stop it from making me uncomfortable. From there on, the rest of our stay was a bit of a wreck. She avoided my family as much as possible and shot angry glances at me whenever I suggested eating with them or going somewhere with them. I ended up ignoring her when I was with my family, thinking that I only have this week with them after 2 years, and who knows how long after. I knew it wasn't very nice towards her, and she probably felt very alone there, but thought we have a lifetime to deal with this after. She did not put on a bra at any point. I'm not really asking about ignoring her afterward. I think I'm probably the asshole in that case, but for the issue of me bringing up the bra situation to begin with, am I the asshole? Now in the comments, IcyGold596 says, "Not the asshole. It's just a week. You could do that for your partner. It's a very small ask. I hate wearing bras too, but when I go and stay with my husband's family, I wear it. It's no big deal." Yes, you could do that for a partner, and also just to show some basic respect to other cultures. I don't care what your rights are in your own country, you adopt the customs and codes of the place that you're in. I don't even think it's so much of a culture/Turkish thing. You're a guest. If it's not your parents' house or you don't know it's specifically the custom, wear your underwear. What does she mean by you being more Turkish? You are Turkish. She needs to understand that not everybody wants to see her titties all the time. She's being a bad guest. You don't go to someone else's house and demand they accept everything you do because you want to feel at home. Well, she's not at home, and she needs to respect that. Part of marrying someone from a different culture is learning how to respect that culture. She acted very childish and disrespectful towards your family and you, quite frankly. I'm all for free the titties, but there's a time and place for everything. Just because you've Americanized yourself doesn't mean the rest of your family should for her comfort. No assholes here. His wife be like, "I want to feel at home by making everyone else uncomfortable and not at home in their own home." And 1-800-TURD-FERGUSON says, "Yes, you're the asshole. You married a woman who isn't Turkish, yet you expect her to follow Turkish standards of modesty when visiting your family? You told her that she could feel like she was at home because prior visits were exhausting for her trying to conform to your family's norms. But you were only half sincere at that. This is a recipe to ensure she never agrees to visit your family again." And OP replies, "I think you strike a good point, but also that you've gone a bit far with Turkish standards of modesty. She wears a bra to work in our super liberal Californian town. She usually wears one when going out, Bras aren't a Turkish invention as far as I know. No, I haven't gone a bit far. Is she going to work when she's visiting your family? No, she's relaxing as she would do if she was in her own home. I walk around braless all the time in my own home. Crap, I walk around naked in my own home. I like to sleep with no pants on or even naked sometimes. When I visit my in-laws, I wear pajamas. I'll wear a bra or even a sports bra just as a courtesy. The fact of the matter is that she's not at home. There's a difference between making yourself feel more at home in someone's house and actually being at home. His wife is making people feel uncomfortable in their own home. It's a minor inconvenience to wear a bra when she's around them during the day. I just can't imagine not wearing a bra for a few hours a day in front of my husband's family being the hill that I was going to die on. Our next post is by user Life Bites, titled, "Am I the arsehole for refusing to move because my 23 female polyamorous boyfriend, 31 male's wife, 31 female doesn't want another dog?" Just to start, we are all ethically non-monogamous. We all know about each other and mostly live in the same house together. I split time at my grandma's house because they live in an HOA and can't have more than one dog. That's all fine and good. I can't knock them for that. But now that they're looking to buy a house, since their landlord is selling the house they're currently in, I was excited to finally be able to move in full time since I'll be able to bring my dog with us. Wrong. His wife doesn't want to have another dog in the house. She keeps telling him it's a boundary of hers to not have another dog in the house. I say that's bullcrap. It just gives her anxiety, which I completely get. But it's not a boundary, and it's an anxiety that can be worked through. I told him I will not be splitting my time when they move because the only reason I agreed to it in the first place was because it was temporary until they moved, and I absolutely refused to abandon my dog. Am I the asshole? And to edit for clarification, my boyfriend works full-time to pay for everything. She does not work and doesn't really contribute much in terms of being at home either. I have agreed to help with bills and payment of the house when I move in full-time. Edit number 2, her girlfriend will also be moving in with no issue. Granted, she doesn't have a pet. Edit number 3, he has reassured me that we practice non-hierarchical polyamory. This means that no one in the relationship holds a higher standing than anyone else, so she doesn't hold a higher status than me and vice versa. And edit number 4, I know the legal stance of this. I understand they're legally married. That is not what I'm asking about. They were married before becoming polyamorous. I'm asking about whether or not I stand my ground on not moving without my dog. Edit, would I be the asshole for standing my ground on this decision? I feel wronged because I only agreed to the current arrangement, granted he would be welcome when we moved somewhere that allowed more than one pet. I would not have moved in part-time without knowing that I'd be able to have him with all of us. Look, to be honest, this seems like a really messy situation, even though you're trying to make it sound like it's not a messy situation. In all honesty, given this arrangement, and if she is not okay with having the dog there but the husband is, unfortunately you need 2 yeses for situations like that. You will just have to come to a compromise, which will probably mean that you live in your own place and continue to be part-time between the 2 households. To me, that would be a fair solution to this, but if you continue to try and force your dog into this situation, I'm gonna say that you're the asshole. Now in the comments, Integranda says, ethical or not, it sounds like you 3 aren't on equal footing here. You are not a full contributor to the decisions in a relationship if the 3 of you haven't sat down together to discuss the situation with your dog and why it's important that your dog can come when you live together. What's happening is your boyfriend is speaking to his wife and you separately, and this wife is sending the message through him by the sounds of it. If this relationship is worthwhile, you at least deserve an equal say in this house move as your boyfriend and his wife. Naked Street says, you're the asshole. Obviously, you don't have to move anywhere. But if you don't think a person is allowed to have a boundary because something just gives them anxiety in their own home they are purchasing, you should not be in any relationship, much less a poly one. You don't have to live in this woman's house. She doesn't have to live with your dog. The thing is, they both knew that the only reason OP didn't move into the previous home is because she wanted to keep the dog and there were rules against it. If the dog moving in was always a deal breaker, they should have said that when they had the conversation about OP splitting her time so she wasn't leaving the dog. Since it's only being brought up now, it seems like the issue is not actually the dog, but rather that OP would be moving in if the dog was allowed. And back to the post, there's a final edit. I suggested to her that we all sit down to talk when I got to the house, and she blew up in my face, saying I'm being condescending to her traumas. All I said is that there are a few issues that we should all discuss in person since we'd all be there today. And now they're getting a divorce. So I've moved out of their current home since she doesn't want me there because I suggested a conversation. They will finish their lease out together in separate rooms while they figure out the divorce and such. My boyfriend and I will still be in our relationship since the only problems we've had has been about her. I'm living full-time at my grandma's house with my dog while this all happens. Thanks for all of your input. Our next post is by user Violated Love, titled, Am I the asshole for scoffing at my team lead for dress coding me? So I, 17 female, work for a property management firm under my team lead, Amy, 23 female. I typically am on the more conservative side of clothing when it comes to work. I wear sweaters in 90-degree heat, avoid jeans, and wear flats instead of heels. It's just what I happen to be comfortable in. However, my older coworker Maria, 22 female, enjoys wearing tube tops, cropped items, shirts with her bra showing, etc., which is perfectly fine. I think most of her outfits are cute and I wish I had her style. This last week, I decided to wear a cropped sweater that just showed a little bit of my stomach. I didn't think it'd be a problem since my coworker was allowed to wear similar clothing items. I've never seen Maria be reprimanded, even though we technically have a dress code in place that goes against her attire. I sat down at my desk and got to work. Suddenly, my team lead comes over and asks me to change, stating my sweater wasn't appropriate for work. I got nervous and grabbed a hoodie out from under my desk, asking if it was okay to wear it instead. She said yes and walked away. I broke down crying and ran to the bathroom to throw a pity party for myself. I knew eventually I had to come out, and she saw me crying. Shortly after, she reprimanded Maria for wearing a similar cropped sweater. A few days go by, and Maria comes into work wearing her usual crop top and ripped jeans. She went that entire workday without Amy saying a single word to her about her clothes. I just recently bought a cute cropped polo shirt and said why not? I'm gonna wear it to work. And what do you know? Amy runs right up to my desk and asks me to change. I put on the most crap-eating grin that you've ever seen and told her no. She asks me why not? And I responded with, your discrimination against me is extremely unprofessional. You allow Maria to wear whatever she wants, why not me? Amy goes on to say, you're not even an adult yet. And I snapped back with, and since when were you my mother? She stomped away from me and went straight for my senior manager's office. I've had problems with Amy before for different reasons. This happened just this morning and I'm nervous I was in the wrong. And edit, I would like to clarify that I wouldn't have worn what I did if the rules were the same for everyone. I understand workplaces have a dress code, however I'm just confused that if it's fair for my team lead to only reprimand me and not Maria. Am I the asshole? So your question is, are you the asshole for scoffing at your team lead for dress coding you? I don't particularly think you are. And yeah, I don't think it's fair that your team lead only reprimands you and not Maria. That is discrimination solely against you, and I would headcanon here that Maria is her friend and she doesn't view you as a friend, hence why she picks on you all the time, hence why she's going straight for senior management. She's just a terrible person, but I'm not sure, I don't think this is a battle that you win. At the end of the day, either everyone wears these clothes or they don't. It seems this is some drama that's gone too far, but my judgment is not the arsehole. Now in the comments, Booping Burrito says, not the arsehole. If corporate rules aren't enforced equally, then they can safely be ignored. If they try to track disciplinary action against you, her comment about your age could give you grounds to file a discrimination claim on the basis of ageism. If this is the US, there's no rule against discriminating against young people. Only old people are a protected class. Really? That's so crazy. I'm not in the US, so I just assumed you'd be doing the sensible thing and have age as a protected characteristic. Yeah, it's bizarre, but the protected class is people over 40. That's it. It's because that's who makes the laws these days. Not the asshole. Good for you. Your manager is imposing an age-based standard on you. The rules have to be the same for everyone, or they are petty and show bias. I totally agree with this, but I think the better way to go about it would be to have feigned ignorance and asked her, or her boss frankly, to explain the nuance of the dress code, so you can understand how what Maria is wearing is in the code, but yours isn't. But given OP is only 17, I'd be very surprised if she took this route. Well, I'm going with not the asshole from what you've said. If they have a dress code that doesn't work for you, you can find another workplace that does. I personally wouldn't work somewhere that has a dress code except no ripped jeans or crop tops. I personally couldn't work somewhere that requires formal suits, etc. because it wouldn't work for me. But she can't allow employee X to do something, then expect employee Y to be okay with being reprimanded for doing the same. Then making a comment about your age was extremely inappropriate too. I would discuss it with your senior manager. It should be a rule for everyone, not just for her favorites. No crop tops is pretty standard though. Maybe it's because most of my jobs have been working with children or professional office jobs, but I've never found it appropriate to wear a crop top to work. Being upset about not getting to wear a cute crop top to work is setting OP up for struggles in the working world in many fields. Boss may be trying to help OP with that, but has given up on Maria. Maria could also have a different role, such as less client-facing with a different dress code, because that also happens. And OP replies, I agree, crop tops are never standard in an office workplace. I wouldn't have cared if the rules were enforced equally. I wouldn't even have worn it in the first place. Maria fills a more client-facing role than I do, and she's only been working at my office for an extra month than I have. I schedule out most of what she does, and she meets with prospective tenants to show the homes. We don't have an HR team. Our boss is very inexperienced. He's 24 and he's the CEO's son. So in this case, I decided to be spiteful instead of going above her. Am I the asshole for making my daughter cover up at home? Background info. I, 58 female, have a daughter, 22 female. I'm very anti-tattoo, and my daughter is very aware of this. Hold up, Jesus is knocking at the door, he's gotta make sure that no one has a tattoo inside. You're being sent straight to hell if you have one. When she left to go to college, I told her that as long as I was paying for her school, she was not allowed to get a tattoo. Since I was paying for her undergrad, she followed my rules. When she was getting ready to start grad school about 1.5 years ago, which she was paying for, she apparently went out and got a tattoo of a butterfly on her shoulder that's about the size of my fist. I didn't know about it until about 6 months ago when she finally mentioned it. I absolutely hate it. I think it's ugly and gross. The current situation. My daughter is moving back in with me and my mother to complete her internship that is required for her master's degree. I told her that when she's in the house, she has to wear clothing that covers the tattoo because I don't want to see it. She says that's not fair because it's very hot where we live, and she likes to wear tank tops and stuff. I said it's my house, so it's my rules, and she's welcome to find other living arrangements if she doesn't like it. I know that she cannot find other arrangements because the internship is unpaid, so she has no option except living with me for free. My mother doesn't really like tattoos either, but she hasn't said anything about this situation except to say that she's staying out of it. I think I might be the asshole because she's an adult who can make her own choices, but I cannot stand the tattoo, and I'm so disappointed that she made the choice to get one. So am I the asshole? I think you are being the asshole in this situation, simply because this is just a tattoo. Tattoos are very normalized in society. It's not like she's walking around the house naked. That would be a different situation. That would be a bit more extreme than what's going on in this story. But the simple fact it's a tattoo, lots of people have them, no one actually cares anymore. It's a butterfly, it's not a swastika, it's nothing offensive. You're forcing your beliefs on your 22-year-old daughter who has a life of her own now, and it doesn't matter if you're anti-tattoo or not, you are being an asshole in this situation. So yes, you're the asshole for this. Now in the comments, Trump's trucknut says, "You're the asshole. It may be your house, but it's not your body. Also, she's finishing up her masters. It sounds like she's got a good head on her shoulders and is intelligent. Why not be positive about that instead of being negative about her tattoos? To be honest, you're an adult. Act like it. It's not even an offensive tattoo, yet you're willing to kick your child to the curb over it. She's a grown woman in school trying to make something of herself, and all you see is a butterfly tattoo? You're the asshole. Also, something to contemplate. Which is bigger, your hatred of tattoos or your love for your daughter? Because one of those two things is going to shape your relationship with her. Your call on which one. Did I miss something where the tattoo is super offensive? OP's talking like that girl has a swastika or SS bolts or something. If not, calling a part of your daughter ugly and gross is a bit much. You're the asshole. And you're the asshole. Yeah, sure, it's your money and your house and all that good crap, but my god, woman, your daughter is not some auxiliary attachment of yours. She's going to have her own morals and values and wants, and you need to just get the hell over it. No one is making you get tattooed, but your daughter is an adult who is allowed to make her own choices. She shouldn't have to cover up in her place of living just because you're too sensitive. And OP doesn't even own the house. She lives with her mum, FFS. Our next post is by user NeglectedMother73, titled, "Am I the asshole for being upset my sisters kept my daughter's pregnancy a secret from me?" Hello Reddit. I came across this while on my quest to find answers as to why my oldest daughter behaves this way and feels the need to hurt her mother so deeply. My daughter and I have always had a complicated relationship ever since she was a child. She was often strong-willed, overly confident, and frequently in trouble with her teachers for being too social during class. We often had to teach her manners and reinforce good behavior while making sure she didn't grow up to be too arrogant. She has always suffered with mental health issues and has convinced herself of things that never actually happened. And when she married her husband and got pregnant with her first child, she suddenly told me she didn't want me visiting her anymore. I told her she had broken my heart, and I will give her what she wants then, which is space. When my grandchild was born, I found out and tried to initiate a relationship with my grandchild, but she always prevented it and kept them from me. She would send me elaborate Reddit posts claiming how abusive I was to her that bordered on dramatic and delusional. She never wanted to be a mother, I believe, and that's why she doesn't want me to know my grandchildren. After repeated letters and emails to my daughter, she kept ignoring me to hurt me. My heart is constantly broken, but I don't want her to think I'm not trying. It's been 6 years since she spoke with me, but friends and family usually update me on how she's doing. I found out through my ex-husband that my daughter is pregnant again. I was deeply hurt by this, as my sisters and mother were all aware, yet I wasn't told until after she'd already given birth to my grandson. I told my sisters that I'm deeply hurt that they contributed to hurting me and participating in activities designed to hurt me. I told them that they should have told my daughter that they wouldn't keep her pregnancy a secret and exclude her mother, since they would hopefully say that they love. One of my sisters told me I was some hurtful names and blocked me, while my other sister just ignored me. I told them both that I need to have boundaries then and not let them in my life to do things that hurt me. My mother told me some more hurtful things and that I am in the wrong. I don't think I am, and I genuinely don't understand where all this animosity towards me for just being a loving mother who tried her best came from. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I believe that I might have messed up with my sisters by expecting them to get involved in me and my daughter's relationship. You remind me of some of my family members, making yourself such a victim and glossing over so many facts. Everything you're writing is so incredibly vague. Why can't you be specific about situations? Why can't you tell us what these interactions were? Why can't you tell us what the Reddit posts were and what those entailed? All you're saying is, wow, she would send me elaborate Reddit posts claiming I was abusive. She was strong-willed, overly confident, and too social in class. What does that mean? Those are usually good qualities. How is that a bad thing? She's always suffered mental health issues and convinced herself that things never actually happened. What does that mean? Why do you think she doesn't want to be a mother? Why can't you be specific? Just for the fact that you suck at communication and you paint yourself to be a victim, neglected mother 73. This post is riddled with fabrication, lies, and shifting the blame onto others. I can genuinely see why your daughter wants nothing to do with you, so yes, you're the asshole. Now in the comments, CyberAce Kina says, the fact that you're not elaborating, you gloss over her mental health, and this entire post has more me's in it than a Nintendo Wii game is a glaring red flag that you're the asshole. Your grandkid's life is about them, not about you. Seriously, this reads like an entitled parents post. More me's than a Nintendo Wii game. Damn, I wish I was this clever. You're the asshole, OP. I can smell all these missing reasons from a mile. This post reads like it could have been written by my mother. My mother was abusive. Mine is a narcissist, and honestly, if it weren't for the fact that I don't have kids, I would seriously consider that she wrote this. Who Fears Death says, you're the asshole. Here's the thing. To all of us, this reads like a troll post because you were so obviously the asshole here. Even when you've done your best to sound like a normal person, we can all see straight through it to the insanity. I highly suggest you, or anyone with estranged parents, check out the missing reasons. You can literally just Google that, you will find what they're linking that to. And edit to add, just in case you're willing to read an excerpt, quote, the game of I don't understand what happened when you've been told in words what's wrong is really counterproductive. Yes, it permits you to shield your ego/self-esteem from criticism and exposure of your inadequacies in the relationship, but it loses you the relationship. In order to solve the problem, you have to decide what is more important to you. Your daughter and grandchildren, or your ego, and the belief that you were innocent of doing anything but little insignificant wrongs. It's very common, especially for people from abusive backgrounds who were not adequately nurtured as children, to stop protecting their egos. Way too threatening. And many, especially if they have other emotional outlets, such as a supportive spouse and friends, will choose ego over a relationship. It's easier and more comfortable, but ultimately very self-defeating and impoverishing. That's the same article I thought of while reading this post. Daughter told OP all the reasons OP was cut off, and OP just dismisses them as delusional. And your sisters and mother, do they also have delusional reasons for supporting your daughter's boundaries? Isn't it interesting how many people in your life are delusional? You're the asshole. It's so crazy to me because even though it was written years ago about someone else, it can be directly applied to OP, grandkid, and all. They really do just have the one playbook, don't they? Our next post is by user MamaBearIt33, titled, Am I the asshole for calling my husband gross and banning him from bathing our son? So me, female 27, and my husband, male 30, have an 8-month-old son together. He's such a blessing, but as new parents, we are fairly exhausted and are just trying to take it one day at a time. My husband helps, big time, and is super involved as a father, though he can be clueless at times when it comes to our son's care. I handle the big tasks like feeding, obviously, changing and bathing, while he handles cleaning up mess, rearranging sheets and blankets, and doing some cleaning on the side. Yesterday morning, I went out to do some grocery shopping and left my husband with our son at home. Our son was sleeping, and I told my husband there wasn't much work required from, and I would be back in an hour, so he sat on the couch and checked his SM accounts. I came back an hour later, and once I entered the apartment, I heard my son cry loudly. I entered the kitchen quickly and saw my husband placing our son inside the kitchen sink, and it looked like he was giving him a bath. I got mad seeing our son crying so loudly, and I asked my husband what the hell he was doing, and he said that he was trying to give our son a bath. I called him gross and grabbed a towel and removed our son from inside the sink. My husband asked what I was doing, and I lashed out, calling him gross to think that it's okay to bath our son in the kitchen sink and potentially harm him since there were glasses and sharp tools nearby. I told him it wasn't his job, and that he shouldn't have done it, and that he was banned from doing it again. He threw a fit, saying I'm treating him as less of a parent than me, and dictating how he bonds with our son. We got into a screaming match, and he called me controlling and selfish, and that as a father, he should do his fair share of our son's care. I straight up told him that his attitude wasn't in our son's best interest, and he should stop whining about what he gets and doesn't get to do, since I don't give him more than he can handle. He stormed off and is still sulking and ignoring me. Am I the asshole? Was I too hard on him? I don't get why you're so upset about bathing babies in a kitchen sink. That is a very normal thing. I was bathed in a kitchen sink. I feel like this could have been remedied by asking him why he's doing what he's doing and having him explain that to you, yet you chose to immediately assume his intentions were bad and scream at him for that, and then try to take away bonding experiences that your husband could be sharing with his son just because you feel like what you do is better for your son and that your husband doesn't do things that are right in your eyes. I'm suspecting none of your family did this beforehand, and you've never experienced it before, hence your reaction, which is understandable, but sit down and apologize and understand that this is a normal thing. I'm going with you're the asshole. And yeah, back to the post, OP says, I'm sorry, but I had no idea it was common to bathe babies in kitchen sinks. It's weird because literally none of my family did it. I now get why my husband said that it was normal. Now in the comments, Shankin Babies says, you're the asshole. Did you actually read this back to yourself? Kids have bathed in sinks forever. What's the issue here? If it's clean and his dad is giving him a bath, what is your actual problem? And edit, now that you appear to understand that you were very wrong in this situation, I really think you should go sit down with and apologize to your husband. You can't gatekeep his parents like that and fly off the handle. If this is an indication of how you're going to be interacting around your son, just save the time and money and go get divorced now. I can guarantee you if this attitude keeps up, he'll eventually just leave and fight for custody so he can be an active parent to his son rather than your personal housekeeper. What on earth? Yes, you're the asshole. Read the sub. So many parents upset that the other half isn't pulling the weight, and here you are gatekeeping parenting. You aren't the only one who can parent, including caring for your child's hygiene needs. Would you rather your husband let the baby sit in mess, potentially affecting skin and well-being? Kids for generations have been bathed in the sink, and even if your husband had not been aware of a small hazard nearby, there are many ways to raise this without going nuclear. Chill, reflect, apologize. Perhaps share the bathing for a while so you can both learn and grow as parents. Tiredness is not an excuse. However, if you're finding yourself blowing up regularly, being tearful, feeling irritable and anxious or low more often than not, you may benefit from seeing a doctor for support. And you're not the only one who can parent. This is the heart of the issue for me. You have no authority to ban your husband from giving his kid a bath. I would be furious if my husband tried to tell me that some parenting task wasn't my job. WTF, being the baby's parent is my job. If I'm ever off the clock for that, let me know and I'll go get a drink somewhere. Giving the baby a bath was 100% his job because it's his baby, and he determined that his baby needed a bath while he was alone at home raising his baby. Our next post is by user ThrowRA titled, Am I the asshole for wanting my girlfriend and my brother to take turns on the bed while they're staying with me? Basically, my little brother, 19 male, is going to be staying with me, 25 male, and my girlfriend, 24 female, for a little while. We have one bed that's pretty big and comfy, and a crappy pull-out in the living room that no one wants to sleep on. I said, to be fair, she and him should take turns sleeping on the pull-out every other night, and the other one can sleep in the bed with me. My girlfriend doesn't like this idea, and says since she actually lives here, she shouldn't have to sleep on the pull-out when my brother is just a guest. But since it's my house, I think it's perfectly fair of me to decide on the sleeping arrangements. Now in the comments, Silent Towel 4158 says, "You're the asshole. She lives there too. You're a complete asshole for even suggesting that she shouldn't get to sleep in what is her bed. I hope she breaks up with you. Do her a favor and break up with her. Let her find someone who will love her. Exactly. It's your brother, your guest. Why don't you sleep on the sofa?" You're the asshole on so many levels. 1. I noticed that you've not offered any discomfort for yourself. 2. I can't even get my head around that you're thinking that it might be okay to put your girlfriend out of her own bed. 3. That your brother would be okay with this arrangement kind of makes me think that there's something seriously wrong with the parenting that went into raising you two. And 4. If my significant other ran this past me, I would pretty much be out looking for a new place to live that day. Yeah, I thought the same thing. As much of an asshole as OP is, what is wrong with this brother too? Who comes into someone else's home as a guest and expects to get the bed at the expense of someone who lives there? Something went wrong with these guys. And our next post is by user PerspectiveRude6933, titled, "Would I be the asshole if I don't go to my daughter's wedding?" About 10 years ago, a close friend of our daughter's came out as gay. This friend in particular slept over at our house so much that she was almost like a daughter to us. We even had a separate bed in our daughter's bedroom just for her. When we found out that she was gay, my husband and I had a discussion about whether we should continue to let her sleep in our daughter's bedroom or if we should move her to the guest bedroom. We were hesitant, but we had a conversation with our daughter, who was 17 at the time, and she told us that even if her friend tried anything, she would shut it down because she was straight. It made sense. We believed our daughter was trustworthy and responsible, and so we allowed the friend to continue sleeping in her room. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. They finished senior year and went off to college. We never suspected anything. Every time they would come home for the holidays, my daughter brought a boy with her, and my daughter's friend brought a girl with her. Come to find out that the boy we thought our daughter was dating was actually dating the girl that we thought our daughter's friend was dating. And the way we found out is because one day I get an invitation in the mail to a wedding for our daughter and her friend. I was so confused. I called my daughter thinking there'd been some type of typo or something. No answer. I call the friend and I can barely ask, "What's going on?" before the friend breaks down crying and confesses that her and my daughter have been in a relationship for a decade, which was around the time we agreed to let her sleep in our daughter's room. My husband and I feel so betrayed. Our daughter gets on the phone and says, "Mom, Dad, I know you're upset, and I promise we'll talk after the wedding and I'll explain everything." I said, "Okay, we'll talk after the wedding." I hang up. The next day she calls me. I pick up and say, "Why are you calling me? I thought you didn't want to talk until after the wedding." And she said, "We are, but I wanted to know what times you're available so we could get measured for our dresses." And I said, "What do you mean, we? You don't think that your father and I are going to your wedding, do you? You lied to us for 10 years, for no reason, and you expect us to just automatically disregard that? We'll talk after the wedding." I haven't spoken to my daughter since then, and the wedding is sometime this month. My husband and I have been getting a lot of calls from family members on both sides telling us that we're being selfish for ruining our daughter's special day over something that happened 10 years ago. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. So the general consensus amongst the families seems to be that weddings are special days where you put all your differences and problems to the side, no matter what they are or how badly they hurt. So in that sense, my husband and I might be the asshole for not being the bigger people in this situation and pushing our feelings to the side. Now in the comments, "You're the asshole. Set your feelings aside for the amount of time it takes to bask in the glory of what it's like to get your daughter ready for her wedding. Love on her, dote on her, praise her, and make her feel beautiful and loved. You and her father should be there for her through the process and at the wedding. Once the wedding, reception, and honeymoon are over, have them both come over to the house. Talk calmly and rationally, and tell them both that you were very hurt that they thought that they needed to hide their relationship from you, and that the only thing that it would have changed would have been the sleeping arrangements. Tell them they are both loved and both amazing girls, but that their behavior was unacceptable and you were very deeply hurt by it. Then go from there. But first, please, your daughter only gets one first time. First chance at love, first chance at happiness, first chance at a wonderful wedding, first chance at sharing the woman she loves with her parents on a very special day. You would hate yourself if, years down the line, you two had become close again and made amends and had not been to her wedding. Or worse, she would hate you, no matter how you validate your actions, and you two would grow apart and you would have an even emptier nest because she would never come back around. Just let her know that you are not mad that she's gay, you're mad that she thought she had to lie about it. Tell her she's loved. Tell her fiancé that she is loved. Tell them you are excited for them and you are deeply hurt and you are having troubles with conflict of emotions. This needs to happen before the wedding, not after it. If the daughter wants her parents' full involvement in and support of the wedding, she needs to grow up and talk to them about why she's been lying to them for a decade. Exactly. This is not on OP to solve. If those liars want her parents there, they've got a lot of apologizing to do. My question is why she felt that she needed to lie for a decade. I'm not condoning the lying, but OP needs to look at why the daughter felt she couldn't be honest with her parents. I wouldn't even assume the parents were owed an apology until after the why is answered. But it's so odd. Daughter's girlfriend came out and they kept having her over like a member of the family, even overnight. They only considered moving her to a guest room, not no longer having her around all the time. And they didn't even do that when the daughter said she was straight. They just didn't want teens who might hook up have sleepovers in the same room, which is fair, I think. They continued to treat this young woman like a daughter for years. OP's daughter would visit with this gay friend and her fake girlfriend for years and years, and OP and husband kept hosting them. It's just hard for me to assume that OP is homophobic or something to explain this. They included this woman, OP's secret partner, for over a decade in their family, knowing she was gay when they didn't have to, much more than most people include their friends' kids. You're right. But I do want to point out that many, many queer people have had the experience of their parents being tolerant and even supportive of queer friends and extended family friends, and then having them behave completely different when it's their own kid that's gay. It's sadly much more common than you think. Not the asshole. She lied to you for 10 years. Not only lied, but actually made stuff up and had random guys coming to your house pretending to be her other half. Lies, lies, and more lies is all you have got, so I completely understand why you don't want to go. Ah, yes, someone who's never dealt with this. There's a reason she didn't think she could be honest with her parents. There's a reason they're refusing to go to the wedding, and no, it's not teenagers lying and hiding things because they all do. She knew or feared what their reaction would be, and she was right. Everyone sucks here. Your daughter pulled a major no-no by informing you of her sexual preference via a wedding invitation, okay? That was bad. And she could have not deliberately lied to you and involved 3 other people in it multiple times. For one reason or another, she just didn't feel safe to reveal that part of herself to you. Can you look back objectively and think how you would have reacted if she had told you? But no matter, because here is the thing. Your daughter will hopefully only have one wedding and you need to be there. Let your anger, hurt, and pride go and be there to love and support your daughter and her partner, if only to make up for all those years that she felt you wouldn't have if she had revealed her true self to you. If you miss it, you'll regret it, so yes, you would be the asshole, and a sad one at that. Am I the asshole for telling my step-cousin in a bikini that she was looking good? So my cousin posted a few pics on Instagram with her in a bikini. She's 21 and I'm 18 and of the opposite gender. It was her first post in a while. I commented that she was looking good. I thought it was a normal thing and everyone was saying the same thing. She DM'd me about a couple hours later and we had a lengthy conversation about her problem with my comment. She said she didn't like family members looking at her like that. I responded by saying I didn't think that what I said was bad at all. Am I the asshole? She's on a private account and she accepted me knowing who I was. Our relationship was always good and I thought of her as a best friend. I do plan to apologize, but am I the asshole? Is there something that I'm missing? OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the asshole. I believe I might be the asshole by making my cousin feel sexualized by her family member. I could have made her feel ashamed about her body. Yeah, dude, that's just something you don't really do. Like, it does come across as very creepy, like, wow, you look so good in that bikini, step sis. Sorry, step cousin. Didn't notice you stuck in that washing machine over there in a bikini. But you look good, by the way. If she felt the need to DM you and speak in length about it, how is it not creepy? You're the asshole for this one, man, come on. Now in the comments, Puddle Piggle says, you're the asshole. I can't think of a way that this isn't creepy, even if you don't feel like it was creepy, because it just sounds like you're commenting on her body. I think you're just normalized to commenting on women's bodies, which is not your fault, but this is a learning moment. Even if you meant good, as in happy, in the context of commenting on a bikini shot on IG, it looks like the exact kind of comment that a guy would leave if he was trying to hit on her. She's obviously aware of how that looks to everyone else who knows that you're cousins. She pointed out that you made her uncomfortable, and instead of stopping to think how the comment would be from her perspective, or how it would look to everyone else, you kind of dismissed her. She clearly cares about you because she put in the effort of a lengthy conversation to explain why she didn't like how you talked about her body in a public platform because you're related. And you still left with the opinion that you were in the right and told her as much. I'd recommend sticking to things like looking happy or I've missed you, cousin, in the future. And if women say that you creeped them out, say sorry and that it wasn't your intention. Why on earth does complimenting someone make you an asshole? Is there something I'm missing? Am I naive? What the hell is going on with these comments? I'm gonna say not the asshole, but you would be the asshole if you didn't apologize for making her uncomfortable and hear her out. You obviously didn't intend to freak her out, which is why I don't think you're the asshole, and apparently there's some social thing I'm missing about why this was ever creepy in the first place. A light you're the asshole. The takeaway from your conversation with her should be that your comment made her feel uncomfortable. Hear her and not argue the rightness of what you said. Your intention was not to make her feel that way, but that's what happened. Don't comment on her body moving forward, and maybe apologize? You're the asshole. Don't comment on your cousin's bikini pics. It's weird and creepy. I'm gonna say not the asshole because it sounds like this was a case of her reading your comments in a tone that you didn't intend, which is easier to do via text. Sounds like you're taking the right approach by apologizing, and I would just refrain from comments like that in the future, even if they are with the best of intentions. Yeah, I agree with this. You meant no harm by what you said, but she took it the wrong way. Apologizing and explaining what you meant is the best way to handle this. Intentions only matter so much. He made her uncomfortable. He should apologize and avoid doing it again. That's literally why I said to apologize and explain that he didn't mean for it to come across as that. From what OP said, he commented it sounds like a normal thing that someone would compliment someone with. He made her uncomfortable without knowing that it would, and it gets to the point where anything could make someone uncomfortable, so he was in the wrong and admitted to that, but at the same time it isn't his fault. It is his fault. Having good intentions doesn't make her feeling uncomfortable not his fault. Saying she took it the wrong way is dismissive. And now on to the update. First, I want to say thank you to those who helped me figure out what I did wrong. I should have known that my comment could have weirded her out and sexualized her. My family visited her family for Easter, and I got to talk to my step-cousin. I asked if we could go somewhere to talk in private, and she agreed. I started out the conversation by first saying that I was sorry for leaving that comment, and I should have stopped arguing with her and listened to her. She thanked me, and we talked for a while about how the comment made her feel like an object, and how she started to wonder if the rest of my family looked at her like that. I again said I was sorry, and I won't comment anything like that anymore on her page. She hugged me and accepted the apology. Again, thanks for helping me find the error of my ways. It was interesting to see the reasons for not the asshole and you're the asshole. I felt that instead of thinking that I was in the right and not doing anything, apologizing and talking to her would make both of us feel better. Thanks, guys. Now in the comments, and that's on growth as a human. Good for you. It's amazing how communication and having a conversation can resolve so many of these situations in a positive and drama-free way. I'm glad that it's all worked out though, and OP still has a nice relationship with her cousin. Not gonna lie, I read the first post and didn't think you were an asshole. You said in the comments that you compliment her on her other posts as well, not just the bikini one. If anything, she's sexualizing the comment because it's coming from her male step-cousin. Obviously don't do it in the future because she's not comfortable with it, but I don't think you're an asshole for complimenting family. What matters the most is that you both can put it behind you. I'm glad everything worked out, and I hope you and your family enjoyed the holiday. Our next post is by user Reaper0207, titled, Am I the asshole for banning my son from going to an Irish school? So long story short, me, male 30, and my fiancée, female 27, have a near 2-year-old boy, and we're at the stage of talking about what school we were going to send him to. So she wants to send him to an all-Irish school where the kids learn all the subjects through Irish. Her reasons are that it's a good school with smaller classes, so only 20 kids in a class, and her cousin's daughter might be going there as well. But the public school in our town is just as good, and yeah, the class sizes are around 25 kids each. My reasons against it is Irish as a language is basically dead, and nearly everyone in Ireland speaks English as a first language. There are a few towns out west that I've heard of that speak Irish exclusively, but here on the East Coast, I've only known a handful of people that speak it at all, and never on a daily or even weekly basis. To me, the language is useless as a skill, and it'll make him put effort into something I deem as useless in the real world, where he could be putting effort into any other subject or even a different language. Her argument is that it's great if a kid learns to experiment with language at a young age, and I agree. So I suggested he go to a French-only school if the language thing was so important to her, as he could possibly use it in the real world. She didn't like this, and started screaming at me that this is happening and to get over it. Now, I never put the foot down in our relationship. I admit that she is the boss in this relationship, but this is one of those times that I have, and it's not going well. Just to add, neither she nor I or any other family member, including extended family members, or any of our friends speak a lick of Irish. So it's not a remember your ancestry type thing. And if she wants him to learn it, we have to take an Irish as a subject till we pass our junior cert anyway. He'll be about 15 then. Am I the arsehole? Edit a couple mistakes, edit 2 for the couple of people calling me an arsehole because being multilingual is easier to learn another language. I addressed that with her, and I said he could go to the French school. At least Granddad is French-Belgian, and his sons, my half-brothers, could speak it with him. Edit 3, my son will learn Irish for a minimum of 10 years through normal schooling. That's not the issue here. It's that he will have to learn all of his subjects through Irish, and even though there are some fields of employment where that is a requirement, it's a very small field and not worth the effort in my opinion. OP has offered the following explanation for why they think they might be the arsehole. I might be the arsehole because this seems important to her for reasons she might not be expressing great, and I'm not sure if I should stop this. Honestly, I'm gonna go not the arsehole for this one. I feel like you need to have a say in your child's education also. And by the sounds of it, both of you are not of any particular Irish heritage, you just happen to be living in Ireland. I lived in Ireland for almost an entire year, I met a lot of my family, I see how passionate they are about speaking Irish, and I see how passionate a lot of people over there are about keeping that language alive. I can see why they would be very pissed off at you for not wanting to send your son to an Irish school to help keep that language passed on to the next generation. No one should be making unilateral decisions when it comes to your kid's education, and she needs to be forthright with her reasons as to why she wants the kid to go to the Irish school, because what she's said so far is not acceptable. Why should you have to respect her reasons when she won't give proper ones, and why does she not respect your decisions when you're saying, hey, here's a bunch of reasons as to why French school would be better than Irish? I don't know, complicated issue this one, but I'm going not the asshole. Now in the comments, Louis in Ireland says, being bilingual actually makes learning a third easier. As a Welsh guy, I've got to lean slightly to you're the arsehole. It's terrible when a country loses its language. The child will learn Irish either way. It's not the same situation as Welsh at all. It is sad that Welsh is dropping though 100%. Studying Irish in school is different from going to a Goyle Scoil. But it is in no way comparable to the Welsh language. Now, my family are West Coast, so maybe we're different, but we all speak Irish very well and went to English, as in England, schools. Yeah, it's definitely regional. My uni friends from Salt Hill and Cork were on a different level than the Dubliners. No real dog in this fight. Grew up in the States, so I just say Gia Chweich, and whatever X's Adam Dom means, and I get appropriate kudos. You're the asshole. You're preventing your child being multilingual. 10% of Irish civil service jobs are reserved for Irish speakers. You also get bonus marks on your Leaving Cert exams for doing them in Irish. There are even EU jobs available for Irish speakers. Yeah, but you learn Irish regardless. You get 20 bonus marks, not per subject but altogether. This sounds good in theory, but if you're learning absolutely everything in Irish with no support at home, you're going to lose marks in other areas. If they were a multilingual home that spoke Irish, absolutely fair enough. But they only speak English and have no Irish, so they cannot provide the vital support the child will need. Not the asshole at all. I actually went to an all-Irish primary school. Everyone in my family at home spoke English, nobody had good Irish whatsoever, whereas other kids in my class would speak both Irish and English at home. This led to me being very, very behind, and so I went to an English secondary school where I was again behind, because I still hadn't a clue what was going on. I completely understand your wife's point of view, and if she's going to make this decision, she needs to learn Irish herself so she can speak it at home and help with homework. I have 2 younger siblings who went to an English primary school, and even helping them with their homework is hard enough. Now imagine trying to do that in a language you don't understand. All through primary school, I needed extra help, which included after-school support and out-of-class help, which was in English, because I genuinely couldn't understand most of what we were learning. Why my teachers and family thought I'd somehow get it at some point is well beyond me. By 6th class, my Irish spelling was so bad, my teachers started giving me first-class Irish work instead of what the rest of the class were doing. But sure, I'd be ahead of everyone in secondary school when it came to Irish, right? Not at all. I got a D in Irish in my Leaving Cert. As for English, I was somehow amazing, which is also beyond me. I guess it was my time to shine in school. Anyway, if you're going to send your kid to an Irish school, you'll need to be a bilingual family at least, and be able to understand the homework, etc. Not just learn basic Irish. You'll need to be at the same pace or further than your child. Thank you. The amount of people who apparently want OP's child to sacrifice their future to save the Irish language is astounding. I'm quite sure half of them wouldn't like it if they were put in this situation. This is not a situation of being bilingual. OP, not the arsehole. And now back to the post. Final update. So I took what some of you said and sat the fiancé down and asked her to give me one good reason at all why he has to go to an Irish school. After a bit of back and forth, it was about her cousin sounding a bit snobby and shocked that we wouldn't send our kid to an Irish school. Then she admitted it's pretty useless to learn it, and she just wanted him to go there because her cousin was making fun of her. That, to me, is not a good enough reason. Since then, we've completely given up on the Irish school. I do like the idea of him learning a useful language, so we will be looking into the French school. At least then I can help him with his homework, as I can speak passable French. For all the doomsayers saying that I'm the reason your language is dying, no, I'm not. I'm not stopping you learning a language that only 1.7% or 70,000 people in Ireland speak regularly. You want to learn, go ahead. No one's stopping you. To me, that language is barely alive and not worth saving. And now on to the update. So I saw a lot of people that were mostly angry that I called Irish a dead language, and that it was sad that I don't have any feelings towards my heritage and national language. And to be honest, that isn't going to change anytime soon. But I have seen how passionate some Irish people are about it, and to be honest, I don't want to try to take that away from my son just because my feelings on the matter are stunted. So what I have done is, I've applied to a French school, and have started speaking French at home and when we visit my mum's brothers and stepdad. Stepdad and brothers speak English. And I've also applied to the Irish school. Mum says that if he chooses to go to the Irish school, she will try to learn it to help him. And when it comes closer to the time, I will let my son choose which one he goes to. He's a bit young to choose now. If it turns out that speaking Irish is something he wants, I'm not going to stop him. And if he says that he wants to go to the French school and wants to learn Irish, I will get him in an out-of-school tutor and vice versa. Thank you for helping me see that my issues shouldn't be passed to my son, and I will do better in the future. Now in the comments, Veterinarian Oak 9857 says, being bilingual in any language is good. As someone who went to an all-Irish speaking secondary school, however, I would really consider it for secondary. At the very least, you get a % bonus for completing your exams in Irish, and it can have significant advantages when you go to university in terms of subsidized housing schemes. I'm guessing that you're in Dublin. If you put all the language considerations to one side, sending a child to an Irish language primary school is a way to reliably place them in a social mix that takes education seriously, similar to what you would get in a fee-paying primary school, but without forking out over €5,000 a year in fees. That's one of the main reasons they're so popular among parents who themselves left school unable to speak Irish after learning it for 14 years. It is good that you're looking into making sure that your son is bilingual. I wish my dad would have thought of that when I was a kid. By the way, the Irish language isn't dead or even dying. 40% of Irish people, not including expats, speak it to some degree, mainly in Galway, parts of Clare, and most of Donegal. This is your culture, a culture that people fought and died for. Make sure your son knows that there's something worth knowing west of Dublin because you seem to have forgotten.